It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Issue 1 on the ballot has to do with tort reform, so-called tort reform. It is bad tort reform, in my opinion. People are kind of losing their minds over a lot of issues, it seems. I want to lash out. It's pretty interesting. So I saw this article. It was a Andrew DeMello piece. I think it actually came out on Saturday, but it was published yesterday. Associated Press piece in the Gazette, but it came out on Saturday. Headline: Family Council stirs opposition to tort proposal on Arkansas ballot. So it is a piece specifically about the Family Council, which is a pro-family, pro-traditional American values organization. And they're against issue 1. Now, here's the thing. For those of you who've been consuming Conduit News, you already know this. We've interviewed the president of Family Council, Jerry Cox, multiple times. We followed his opposition to what is now issue 1 on the ballot all the way back in 2017 when he lobbied against it. He fought it. He said it was a bad idea. And now, all of a sudden, people are surprised that he is now trying to defeat the issue, or the Family Council's working, trying to defeat issue 1 and educate the people about what this bill, or what this amendment to the Constitution will do, that it will have negative consequences on the concept of life and protecting life from natural conception to natural death. Or, I'm sorry, from the moment of conception until natural death. So, this is not news. This is not news. What you have here are members of the pro-issue 1 camp, which is full of some well-intentioned people. It's also full of some establishment, big government types who love the nursing home industry and think that it's fantastic that Norsworthy gave Jake Files $80,000 for filing the predecessor to this bill that didn't pass. I mean, you give Jake Files $80,000, who's now, by the way, convicted of stealing taxpayer money. You give Jake Files $80,000, the nursing home industry does, for doing their bidding. You get a bunch of other legislators' attention. Be like, hey, I support tort reform too. Where's my $80,000? Now, that's not... I'm doing a little bit of trolling here. I don't know if you can tell. That's not to say that everybody who supports issue 1 is, has their hand out for nursing home money. That's not what I'm saying, okay? So that was me trolling. But the reason that you're seeing this piece by Andrew DeMello in the Associated Press is because you have the pro-issue 1 camp are looking at Family Council, and they're saying, get them. Do you know why they're saying get Family Council? Because they disagree with Family Council on this one issue. They disagree with them on one issue. Family Council has been a tireless advocate for traditional American family values and the pro-life movement before most of the people down at the Marble Palace ever thought about running. Jerry Cox was down at the Marble Palace during the Clinton administration when Democrats didn't want anything to do with being pro-life. And so, you know what he did? He worked on a bunch of other issues because you couldn't get any movement on the abortion issue. And one of the issues he tried to fight back then was this very issue that's on the ballot. So he has been consistent fighting the nursing homes and standing up for the elderly who are in their last stages of life for decades. For decades. And you guys took the concept, a Republican concept of tort reform, and you let the nursing home lobby ride it, and it's gone way, way, way too far. And now you're wondering And instead of just saying, you know what, we probably got this one wrong. You know what? If the Supreme Court rules that you guys have basically log rolled 4 issues into one, that's going to be on y'all too, by the way. Y'all are going to have egg all over your face if that were to happen. Imagine that. Legislators are incompetent when it comes to writing legislation. I have a problem with the criticism of family council. I'm going to tell you why. But let's kind of get into this article real quick. Family council says setting caps on awards in lawsuits puts a price on life. That's exactly right. But this is also about allowing the nursing homes to get away with stuff here, you know? When we interviewed former Supreme Court Justice Annabelle Ember Tuck, and she said one of the reasons you don't want a cap is because you want the monetary consequence when somebody's done something wrong to prevent them from doing it again, and also to prevent other people from doing something similar. I mean, if you've broken the law or you've hurt someone, that you don't want to do it again, and so paying a bunch of money is a way to incentivize people to not do those things bad, those bad things again to other people. So, we have pro-issue 1 people attacking family council. And this statement is fascinating to me. It's absolutely fascinating. Andrew DeMello writes, proponents of the measure worry that the Christian group's opposition, family council, will stir dissension among conservatives who must work together on numerous issues. Quote, the biggest problem is not the damage to the tort reform proposal, said State Representative Bob Ballinger, a sponsor of the measure. The biggest hurdle is the damage to the pro-life cause. Now, again, so they're saying because we have to work together. So are they saying that they don't want to vote for anti-abortion legislation because Jerry Cox and the Family Council are against issue 1? Are they that fickle? Are they that thin-skinned that you're willing to say, I won't vote for your bill, Jerry Cox, that's going to protect the unborn? I won't vote for that bill because of what you did on issue 1. Is that what we're saying here? Is that how it hurts the pro-life movement? Because you see, the other side, the issue 1 proponents, Republican proponents, they think that being pro-life has nothing to do with protecting elderly in nursing homes. And on this issue, they don't think it does that. They think being pro-life only means about, being anti-abortion. Okay, so that's your definition. Jerry Cox and the Family Council take it a little further. They've got probably, let's just say, a more broad principle about conception to natural death. Okay, that's what they're saying. Because you disagree. I mean, is that what they're saying here? Are they saying that because we disagree with Jerry Cox and we're so mad that he's using his organization, his experience, his clout, his trustworthiness among the people, his dependability against issue 1, that they won't vote for pro-life legislation or anti-abortion legislation in the future that he brings to them? Because that's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like they're threatening to do. And I wouldn't put it past these people to go after the family council's funding. And then this is my whole point. This is my whole point here. Throw up my Facebook post. I posted this on Saturday about noon when I read this article because I was upset that people are piling on family council. And I wrote this. I said the people attacking family council's integrity because they disagree with them on one issue are extremists and are showing their true colors. Now, I'm not even really talking about Bob Ballinger in this instance. I made my point about him. But there's some other people out there who have made the argument that family council is for sale, that because you have trial attorneys who obviously don't want their commissions capped, just like nobody would want the government to tell you how much money you can make. You also have trial attorneys out there who really genuinely believe in the Seventh Amendment right. They believe in the Constitution and everything else. There's a lot of complex issues here. But because trial attorneys, have given family council money, all of a sudden now that means, the only reason family counsel's against issue 1 is because trial attorneys have donated to their cause. Really? Really? don't understand how. I mean, I do understand how you make the argument. You make it because you want to win at all costs. You want to question family counsel's integrity because you want to win. Family counsel's not for sale. Again, they have been against this issue all the way back in the 90s. They have fought this issue before, and actually, it might have been in the early 2000s. But anyway, they have done this before, well before many of you were even down there, okay? So to say that they're for sale just because you have a like-minded group on this issue giving family counsel money is preposterous. And it just shows that you guys are shallow. And this is why you're extreme. You ready for this? Because me using the word extremist, because listen, I know I've been called an extremist. I know you conservatives have been called extremists. And I don't know, say I'm channeling my inner Donald Trump. I'm calling them extremists because these people, when it comes to the Marble Palace or the establishment or whatever the big money wants, in this case, nursing homes, these people are more than happy to agree to disagree on any one issue so long as they get what they want. But the moment they think that they are not going to get what they want out of the deal, they go personal. And this whole, well, we can agree to disagree. They only want to agree to disagree if they get what they want. They don't want to agree to disagree if there's a possibility that an organization like Family Counsel has more credibility than what your legislator tells you. If that happens, all bets are off. The ends justify the means, and we're going to come after you. We're going to come after Family Counsel because they're claiming that they're more conservative than we are, and we don't like that. And if you make reasoned arguments that expose the other side as not being as conservative as Family Counsel or other organizations that we've seen, they go after you because they have to destroy that person. They have to destroy that organization. They have to make them less credible. And that's what we're seeing here. And it's over one disagreement, over one issue. And that's so petty. That is so petty. And instead of convincing the people with your ideas, okay, let's agree to disagree, and let's let the voters decide. So Family Counsel, you go do your messaging, and the nursing home people and tort reform, so-called tort reform people, you go do your messaging, and we'll see where the voters come out. They would be more than happy to do that if they knew it was a sure thing they were in. They would be more than happy to do that. You would not see, if the issue one people, if they thought they were going to win, you probably wouldn't have even seen this Associated Press article. That's my bet. You wouldn't have seen it. You're seeing it now because they think they're going to lose, and that's why they're going after the integrity of the Family Counsel and Jerry Cox. And then they're insinuating that they're for sale. They're insinuating that the only reason the Family Counsel's taking this opinion or taking this position is because they've been given money by lawyers. They've been giving donations by lawyers. Give me a break. Family Counsel, by the way, has a ton of support, not just from attorneys, but from people who believe in the pro-life movement, who believe in traditional biblical American Christian values. They believe in that. Traditional American values, comma, biblical Christian values. I want to make sure those are two separate things, or can be two separate things. So, yeah. So, you get my point, right? Like, this is unbelievable. And the other side, I meant what I said in the Facebook post. They are showing their true colors. It is an extreme position to say we can agree to disagree so long as I get what I want in the end. But we can't be civil. We can't be congenial. We're going to go after you personally. We're going to go after the integrity of your organization if we think you might win. I don't want to agree to disagree. I want to destroy you. And that is what the pro-issue one movement is doing to the Family Counsel. And that's, that's before we even get into the substance of whether or not you should vote for or against it. Now, I think you should vote against it because of what it does, putting a cap on putting price on life, capping what attorneys can make. But my biggest problem with the whole thing is it allows the legislature to set rules of evidence in a courtroom, which is going to have terrible special. And they claim, that's the thing, they claim this will end special interest. You guys are going to be getting money and campaign donations. You're going to be getting money and campaign donations from people who are going to want you to write rules of evidence in a lawsuit. I mean, the special interest is going to be even worse because I know you guys, and I know about the special language committee. I know what you guys do, slipping things in there. It'd be a disaster, an absolute disaster. Not to mention a violation of separation of powers. So, I mean, if this were to pass, you're going to have, this thing's going to be tied up in court for a while. Not to mention it's tied up in court right now, whether or not it should even be on the ballot. I find it interesting, kind of piggybacking off of what we talked about last hour. If you look at who the Marble Palace seems to be afraid of, or who they're attacking, it's pretty obvious who they consider to be a threat, right? I mean, Conduit's one of those organizations. Now you have Family Council. They're outspoken against something that I think a lot of the Marble Palace wants. Not all, but a lot of it. They want this, and you have a conservative group like the Family Council now taking heat. You have veiled threats, what I would call veiled threats, saying, this hurts the pro-life movement in general. And I'm thinking, does that mean you're not going to support pro-life legislation now because you disagree with the pro-life stance they're taking on the elderly? You can tell who they're threatened by. And I think, honestly, what I think is they're threatened by organizations that present themselves as conservatives and then disagree with other people that present themselves as conservatives. Right now in Arkansas, that's really the political, I don't know, I guess you could call it a microcosm because, I mean, you see similar stuff on the national circuit, the national level. They're threatened by that because they're the ones that should get to define what a conservative is because they're the ones in power. And they get upset. You got an organization like Family Council coming out and saying, issue 1 is not good for the people. Hey, also issue 1's not pro-life. Oh, my goodness, you said what? It's not pro-life? And they look at that as being unfair because they say, well, Family Council is saying we're not pro-life. They're not saying that you're for abortion. And they're relying on the people people understand that. Now, you may be worried that they don't, but I feel like that says more about you than and what you think of the voters than it does about them. I mean, why are people so surprised? If you spoke against something or lobbied against something when it was being debated in the legislature, why are you now surprised with that organization, Family Council, is now still against it today when people are going to vote on it coming up in November? Why would you be surprised by that? But they are. And it's because they think they're going to lose. What's the title of the podcast from last hour when we talked about this, Joe? What did you decide it was? I thought it was a good title. They attack Family Council because they think they're going to lose. That's exactly right. They're now attacking an organization that has stood for Christian values, traditional American values for decades, and they're doing it because they disagree on one issue, and that one issue is so important to them, and they think they're going to lose, so they're willing to really just burn a bridge, honestly. Agree to disagree, but only if we get what we want will we be civil about it. But if there's a chance you're gonna get what you want, we'll attack your integrity. We'll attack you personally. I mean, you see that in elections, right? Yeah, they can't agree to disagree. They can agree. We can agree to disagree on Medicaid expansion here in Arkansas. We can agree to disagree on that, so long as we get to keep it. But if there's a chance that there will be a candidate here or a candidate here who might win to get it. Oh, we'll go after the integrity of the entire organization. And we'll claim, we'll make outrageous statements that are not backed up by fact at all. This is their game plan. And it's because the ends justify the means. It's because they don't want to lose. They want to win at all costs. And I'm pointing out that, it's a deviation from principles. Yeah, I'm just pointing out that it's interesting to me how uncivil, how they are out there attacking family counsel's integrity. They're saying that family counsel's for sale. They're saying that they've been bought. I mean, they're really projecting because the nursing home industry gave Jake Files $80,000. Hello? The nursing home industry, you've got a judge that pled guilty for lowering a judgment, took $10,000 to lower a judgment by $1 million. It's projection and deflection. Project and deflect. That's exactly right. It's one of the 7 ways that government attempts to grow, is you project and deflect. You project the very thing. It's also a tactic. If you look it up, projection and deflection is a textbook tactic of narcissism. It is. It's a textbook tactic of narcissism where you will project what you're guilty of or your very flaws onto other people to make yourself look good. It's that last part that makes the narcissist use the tactic because it makes you look better because it's all about you. And the Benjamins. It's all about you and the Benjamins. Telephone number